Want to go deeper with Lobbing Scorchers? You know, scratch under the surface, get down even dirtier than we already get? Become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And you know, the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comments section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Under the Lights. Got a big show for you all here tonight. The Seattle Sounders are back at it in MLS play this weekend, coming off a 2-0 win over Austin FC at Lumen Field. They're now going to welcome one of the best teams in MLS. That is the Columbus Crew. We're going to be previewing that in just a minute with Caleb Denorme of Massive Report. And then a lot of unexpected Sounders news today that I wasn't anticipating when I woke up this morning. But there's unfortunately a season-ending injury for João Paulo. So we're going to talk about the implications of that. And we are also, we got a transfer rumor, a real live transfer rumor from our own Niko Moreno of Lobbing Scorchers Kickoff, linking the Sounders to a what would be a U22 forward by the name of Noah Ohio. That's his name, Noah Ohio. Don't know anything about Noah Ohio, but we're gonna talk about him later on in the show. So yeah, a lot to get into. We're about to talk about the Columbus Crew. Hopefully they brought a backup goalkeeper this time. Hopefully. But before we get into that, in just a second here, please like the video if you have not yet. Sub to the channel. Follow us on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, the whole nine. Follow us on everything. I think, and lobbingscorchers.com/sauce for our recently dropped hot sauce. And if you use code LS at that link, you get a free bottle with your order. So you can't beat that. All right, let's get into this Columbus Crew preview right now. We have got another special guest this week to help us preview Seattle's upcoming opposition, which this is a big one. Like I said, one of the best teams in Major League Soccer, measuring stick game. So to help us with that, we're going to bring him to the stage right now. His name is Caleb Denorme. He is a senior contributor for Massive Report, which is one of the biggest outlets covering the Columbus Crew. Here to talk to us about this game on Sunday Night Soccer between the Seattle Sounders and the Columbus Crew at Lumen Field. Caleb, thank you so much for joining the show this evening and helping us preview the Columbus Crew. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I always love hopping on and talking with different people around MLS about their teams. Obviously, my niche is the Columbus Crew, but Seattle is a team that me personally, I don't always want to watch other teams in MLS because they don't play, good style soccer. Seattle, for me, I always love watching them play. So major respect to that club and to all of you guys, because you guys have some of the best fans in MLS, if not the best. So excited to be on.
Yeah, no, I was gonna get into it, but I feel the same way about the Columbus Crew. Sometimes I go into these previews and I know the whole league pretty well, but some teams better than others. Some teams I don't really know much at all. But the Crew I watch all the time. They've rightfully earned their reputation as one of the most watchable teams in the league. So excited to talk with you about that. But before we do get into it, I do like to give our guests a little opportunity at the top to talk about the work that they're doing, plug anything you might be working on. If you just want to tell our audience about what you guys have going on at Massive Report and what you do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis covering the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive Report is amazing. Obviously, we cover the Crew, so we have in-game coverage, we have recaps, all that kind of stuff. My personal niche is doing what I call tactical reviews, which essentially is me breaking down game film and talking about, hey, what worked in this game? Did they decide to build with a two-back or a three-back, and how did that fare against the other team? Or what didn't go well, or what the other team did to maybe catch the Crew out or really screw themselves in this one. So that's kind of my niche. I'm very much a soccer nerd. I very much love watching hours upon hours of just game film over and over and trying to look at the different things. But we are active on all social media. Go check us out at Massive Report, and go follow all the wonderful people over there that do great work. The Crew do not get a ton of coverage outside of local newspaper, Columbus Dispatch, and us. So it's always great to be a part of an organization like that, and also to be welcomed by the Crew and MLS to be able to do that. So definitely go check it out if you are interested in learning more about the Crew, or just wanting to read some interesting stuff.
Absolutely. Everyone go subscribe and follow to Master Report. They do great work covering the Columbus Crew, which we're going to talk about right now as they get set for their trip to Seattle. Lumen Field, Sunday night soccer, primetime game. Everyone's going to be watching. So this is an exciting one. So Caleb, we were talking off air a little bit, but what I like to do to start off these opponent previews is I give you my outside perception of the club in question as an outsider, as a neutral. And you can tell me if the way that I see it from the outside aligns with how what's actually going on the day-to-day with the club. And this one, like I said, I feel pretty good about this one. Sometimes I go into this firing kind of blind and just let go of takes that I don't know if they're right or not, but I know the Crew pretty well. But I'm going to hit you with it anyway, and you can tell me if you have any amendments to how I perceive it. But when I think about the Columbus Crew and just their status league-wide right now, the way I look at it is at any given time, there is a select group of clubs in the league that I call it like a seat at the table of like actual contenders, clubs that are actually about it, who put out high-quality squads that play good soccer every single year and are actually going for trophies. And really, you have your dark horses, but like I said, at any given time, there's probably only like 4 or 5 clubs that I actually consider with a seat at that table. And the Columbus Crew over the last 3 years, pretty much since Wilfried Nancy has been there, they have very much have a seat at that table, and they won an MLS Cup in 2023, I believe. They won the COVID Cup, but we don't talk about that around here. That game didn't happen, but they did win the one in 2023, and I think the success that they have had has been accompanied by the Crew are known as the club in MLS that plays, I would say, the most aesthetically pleasing soccer. It's not just that they're getting results, taking wins, and competing for trophies. It's the way they do it, the way that they play. A lot of the times when you watch the Crew play, it's like they're playing at a different speed than the other team. And I've racked my brain trying to figure out how they do it, because they're sort of, the style that they play is what other MLS clubs want to emulate. Scoring a ton of goals, just whipping the ball around, like I said, playing at a different speed, defending well as well. I would say it's not like an Inter Miami situation where they play like that offensively but not defensively. It's a well-rounded team, and to me, we're going to talk about him, but I think it is a testament to Wilfried Nancy and just his brilliance as a coach. I kind of can't believe that he's in MLS, but whatever he's done, he's got some kind of secret sauce, and he has this team, probably the highest floor in MLS. And I say that because I think the narrative around the Crew this season was actually that they were struggling a little bit in the post-Cucho era to like adjust to that and to really find that level that they found under Nancy the last couple seasons. And there was like, as I understand it, there was a part of this season where the fan base was kind of like, hey, what is this? We're the Columbus Crew. We play the best soccer in the league. We're grinding out these like 0-0s, 1-1s. We're taking a couple L's that we don't normally take. Got waxed by Inter Miami 5-1. Is this like not clicking anymore? And then in the last, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks or so, they've kind of reasserted themselves. Like, no, we still are the Columbus Crew. We play the best ball in the league. We got the best coach in the league, and we're going to be in the mix for every single trophy and can win any game and on any given week that we play. And I think as it stands going into this game, I think the Crew are kind of they're kind of back a little bit. Would you say that characterization is roughly accurate, or would you make any amendments to that picture?
Yeah, no, that was great. You hit almost every nail on the head, if not every nail. I mean,
I know my
you
Crew.
pretty much
I know my Crew.
described you might be a Crew fan. You pretty much described how the season went and kind of the narrative around it. In terms of recently, if you look back at the schedule, the Crew had a really rough May, like an extremely rough May. And also into June as well, they were struggling a little bit. Did not win for a while there. I think it was like 6 or 7 matches where they either drew, or then you had that 5-1 loss to Inter Miami that was just brutal. And really, you talked about at the beginning the loss of Cucho at the beginning of the season, and that was the big storyline in Columbus that worried most of the Crew fans because, when we got rid of Lucas Zelarayan, as many of you may remember from 2020, we were wondering, who's the replacement? And instantly it was Diego Rossi because they signed him 6 hours after. That was a very un-Crew-like move. The Crew like to sell in the winter, like they did with Cucho, and wait until the summer window to find a replacement so they can do their due diligence. So they were really looking at, okay, Diego Rossi is your only main star because, remember, they got rid of Christian Ramirez as well, who is a sneaky big part of that team. Diego Rossi. And now it almost firmly rested upon Diego Rossi's shoulders to carry the offense. But then you see at the beginning, Chicago, which everybody beat Chicago, so that's nothing new. But they start grinding out like these 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 games. Like they're not really blowing people out. And they just kept picking up points. It was not pretty. It didn't look like the 2022 Crew or 2023 Crew. It was gritty, not pretty, which is very not like Wilfried Nancy. They were still playing great soccer, it looked good aesthetically, but results weren't there. They were missing the final finishes a few times. And then you go and you trade for Daniel Gazdag, who hasn't got off the fastest start. He hasn't scored yet. And so we're still waiting on that. But you go through this rough stretch in May into June, and then you take a break for the Club World Cup. And so they have a few weeks off after the Inter Miami game. And they come back. They get 2 or 3 straight wins heading into this game, and they've looked pretty good. The main problem that I think flew under the radar in the summer when they were having that rough stretch was their defense. They had some shambolic defending in those games of just that you would not expect from a Crew defense that features, MLS Defensive Player of the Year Steven Moreira and Patrick Schulte, who is, on the U.S. men's national team, and Sean Zawadzki, who has been a budding star. But it was just some very bad defensive performances. And it was a lot of mental mistakes as well. So I think that characterization was correct. And I think that we are starting kind of to see if the Crew get on a roll, even without Daniel Gazdag scoring, like that's the scarier thing, that you have Philadelphia Union's all-time leading goal scorer, and he hasn't scored yet. And you're still waiting on him to click, and they're still winning games. So again, it all goes back to Wilfried Nancy. This guy's a magician. He cracked the code basically in no time in Columbus. And you have to think that he's not long for this league. As much as it pains me to say, someone's going to come and get him. Someone in Europe is going to come and get him, and he is going to make them a winner almost instantly, given the right funds and given the right players.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into the next topic I wanted to hit, which was Wilfried Nancy. I kind of am of the belief that coaches don't necessarily always matter or make as much of a difference as people often think that they do. To me, like what makes a good coach a lot of the times is not necessarily X's and O's, but it's more managing personalities, managing egos, managing the locker room. And then really the roster is going to define how competitive and how successful you are more than the coaches typically. However, there are a certain percentage of coaches that are so sharp tactically and just understand the game on like some sort of wavelength or different level than most other people, that they meaningfully move the needle for their team purely by just being on the sidelines and being the person who's imparting the system and imparting the tactics. And Wilfried Nancy, I think most people consider him the best coach in MLS right now. I consider myself in that group. And I think he is very much shown to be in that category of a coach where it like, you got to give him like any coach a good roster, but like you can give Wilfried Nancy CF Montreal's roster, as we saw, and he's going to have them like in the mix because he's just that good. And I think like his reputation, it's not like smoke and mirrors at all. There's something about his tactical acumen that just it has his teams play aesthetically pleasing soccer and like productive goal scoring soccer, but just I don't know, it's just like seems to work better than anyone else does it. So I'm curious from your perspective as someone who's covered him a lot, probably talked to him a fair amount, and just been around the team and seen how they play and seen how he operates. What is it about Wilfried Nancy that makes him what he is, which I think most people agree is this is the best coach in MLS?
Yeah, I think that it's a combination of things. Obviously, the tactical acumen of his mind is just ridiculous, off the charts. Like, if you look at the way that they play the game, they will not look this. They will look relatively the same in the same shape, but you never know what they're going to do. They can build from the outside with wingbacks, or they can go through the middle because you have Darlington Nagbe, who doesn't lose the ball, so he can just dribble everyone or combine quick passes in the middle. Or you can go long because you have those wide wingbacks or you have those inside forwards. So when you think about his system and you think about, and to your point, like you said, talking about how coaches may not make much of a difference, I agree with that to some point. If you have a team like Miami who can spend out the wazoo and has Lionel Messi, coach isn't going to make a difference, okay? Lionel Messi.
I could coach that team. Yeah, I could coach that team to the playoffs.
Exactly. But when you look at MLS, and this is the beauty of this league that I think that we need to remember when talking about, promotion, relegation, all that stuff, is the smaller market teams who don't want to spend as much, like the Crew were. You need to have a good coach. Started with Greg Berhalter. Love him or hate him, however it ended with the U.S. national team. He elevated that Crew squad when he was there beyond their talent level. Way beyond. It was Federico Higuain and everybody else. That was it. And then you go to Caleb Porter, and that's the transition period where we just got new ownership. We're just trying to survive and get new fans so that we can prove that we can be in this league without relocating. Elevates that team, wins a championship. Nobody thought that was possible. And so Wilfried Nancy fits this acumen of a coach that elevates his players. And that's exactly what Columbus has got out of their prior coaches with Berhalter and Porter, and even before that. So when it comes to Wilfried Nancy, the one thing is his tactical acumen, like we talked about. But the other thing is he is a brilliant man manager. He has a way that he can talk to players and get through to them like coaches that I have never seen before. And I think the best example of this is Alexandre Matan, who's no longer with the Crew, but he was an outcast when Caleb Porter was here. Originally brought him in on a U22, I believe, and was supposed to be this quick, fast-paced, skillful, wide mid/attacking midfielder. Never really fit into Porter's scheme. Did not look good with the Crew when Porter was there. Porter obviously gets fired. They bring in Wilfried Nancy, and he starts Alex Matan. Like, first game, basically, that he's in charge, he's starting Alex Matan or bringing him on for large portions of the game. And all the Crew fans are like, wait, we thought this guy sucks. But it turns out that he was a solid starter and very, very valuable for us in those runs. And so he has this ability to get through to players mentally, but also he raises their tactical acumen as well. Like we've talked about, if you look at the players on the Crew and what their original positions are and what they changed into, it's a revelation. You talk about Sean Zawadzki, who started off as a central midfielder, holding midfielder, obviously played a little bit of goalkeeper, which was not fun for us to watch, but he has that in his bag now. But now he's the anchor of the back line. I would argue that Sean Zawadzki might be the best defender on the Crew's roster at this point. He has impressed me a lot with how he's played. You look at Steven Moreira, originally a right back. Well, now he's slotting in at center back. You look at Max Arfston, who was a striker, who's now playing wing back and playing left back with the national team. So you look at those guys and you think that everybody needs to be adaptable in Nancy's system. And I think that's what's so cool about it. One of the recent examples we have is they brought in Ibrahim Aliou from the Houston Dynamo earlier this season. And they were talking about, he's a striker, he can play wing back, but, he's fit in well wherever he's gone, whether it was up top or at wing back or wherever Nancy's put him. He's fit in well, he's done his job, and he's scored goals. And I think that that's, if there's one thing to knock Nancy about, and I'm really digging at straws here because he's the best coach that I've ever watched. It would be sometimes he subs too late. So his system requires a lot of running, a lot of interchanging and stuff like that. People can get tired, and you can see the tired legs at some points, and maybe he won't sub until the 75th, 80th minute. That's maybe a knock that I'd had for him. But other than that, he covers every base, really. And just watching this team play, especially from where they came from under Caleb Porter, where the system was very much, we're going to line up in a 4-2-3-1. We're going to do passive from left back, pass around to right back, back to left back. Oh, they didn't shift. All right, now let's go forward. I don't want to say it's boring soccer, but it's not exciting. And then you get into Wilfried Nancy, where it's like end-to-end stuff. You're committing 10 players in the attack, and you only have one guy back, and your goalie is 40 yards off his line, playing passes. It's beautiful to watch. It is. And he has changed what happens in Major League Soccer now, because I think coaches are coming in and they're seeing what he can do, and they think, oh, maybe I can do that, or maybe I have a player who's adaptable who can do that. So, yeah, he's not long for this league. Like I said, someone's going to come and get him, and it's going to be sooner than later.
You hit on two things there, which I always strike me when I watch a Wilfried Nancy team, which is unpredictability and adaptability. Like it's not like a super dogmatic system. He makes tweaks like based on the matchup, and then will attack teams in different ways, like based on where their weaknesses are. So it's not just like, this is our identity, this is our game plan week in, week out. He makes like changes and tweaks to it. And then also just sometimes when I'm watching the Crew, like I don't know, just like a center back will all of a sudden make a run out of nowhere and score a goal, and you're like how, like, no one does that, like, with the frequency and effectiveness of this guy. And I mean, you're right, I can't believe he hasn't gotten picked up in Europe already, because to me it's like proven at this point that if you give him a solid roster, your floor is like set. Like there's no question that he's going to be able to pull the results. It's just a matter of if, like, when you took him from the CF Montreal, which is a low spending team, not a lot of resources, just not very well run, put him on the Crew, which not like the craziest spenders in the world, but very like smart with how they spend and build their roster and everything. You see what happens. They won MLS Cup immediately. And that's a testament to the coach. So yeah, I don't think he's long for the league either. And I'm honestly just curious to see how far on the global stage he can rise, because he's that good. Let's talk some Gazdag though, because you mentioned that earlier, and that was one of those classic moves. When I saw the Crew did it, it was like, that's a good move. When they did it with Diego Rossi, it's just occurred to me right now, but Columbus and Seattle have actually used a similar tactic to great effect, which is getting other teams DPs already that were in MLS and then just transferring them to there. So Rossi, he was on LAFC and was a great player for a few years, went overseas, I think to Turkey, and it didn't quite pan out. But then he comes back to the Crew. That's like a higher percentage move because you already know that the player can do it in MLS. And so Seattle's done that with guys like Albert Rusnak and Jesus Ferreira. Columbus has done it with Diego Rossi, now Daniel Gazdag. But Gazdag has not really gotten going with Columbus yet. Like you mentioned, he hasn't scored. So I guess I'm curious your thoughts on where things stand with that whole thing, because I mean, it's a big trade. They signed him to a big contract extension to be like a centerpiece building block, and it hasn't taken off yet. But I mean, that's not really abnormal. Like sometimes these things take a little time to click, even under a coach as good as Nancy. But based on what you've seen from Gazdag in Columbus so far, how do you kind of evaluate his performances, and where is your confidence level as far as all right, this guy is at some point soon here going to catch fire and become that sort of centerpiece building block type player that the Crew need him to be after making that trade?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, and I remind many Crew fans of this because I think that I'm much more patient than most people. But when you think about the Crew and players adjusting, especially again to Wilfried Nancy's system, it's incredibly complex. It really is. You have to play 3 or 4 positions on a given night, and you have to know how to counter press, how to cut off passing lanes. Oh, wait, now we're back on offense. Where do I need to go? Oh, I can go anywhere, but you have to work with the other players. So I'll use this example. We saw this when Diego Rossi came to the Crew. He came back, and everybody was like, Diego Rossi and Cucho and Christian Ramirez are going to score, 60 goals this year, and it's going to be nuts. And Diego Rossi struggled out of the gate. He really did. Like he was not very sharp. He was misplacing passes. He wasn't always in the right spot. And this was a sore time for Crew fans because we just gotten rid of Lucas Zelarayan, who did not fit that well into Nancy's system. He's more of a true 10. You need some more hybrid player, exactly like Diego Rossi is, who can play wing, striker, 10, whatever. But it took him a while to adjust. But at the end of that season, you could see it start to click. As the playoffs rolled around in that season and they started making that run to the MLS Cup Finals, you started to see him clicking and getting goals and getting assists and working with Cucho. It just took half the year. So I'll say this for Daniel Gazdag. It's coming. It's going to come. And it's going to happen, I think, sooner rather than later. When he started, his first few games were rough. Poor touches, didn't really know where to go on the field, was dropping in deep and just playing these 1-2 passes with players and wasn't really creating anything of substance. But in these past few games, if you look at the Atlanta game, I would love, I don't know if MLS has this, but a XG stat for specific players, because I swear he could have had the hat trick in that game. Brad Guzan stood on his head. Well, then I'll have to look into that. Maybe I need a statistician. But Brad Guzan stood on his head on a few of those saves, as he, his 40-year-old self will. And Atlanta got some crucial blocks around the goal that, Gazdag was just looking up like, I can't even help this right now. I do think it's one of those situations where it's going to be as soon as that first goal comes, man, people better watch out because it may be an avalanche. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. But again, patience is what I would preach. I think it's going to happen. I think that he needs a little bit more time. Again, if he sticks around for years to come, even next season, I think that he will be a revelation of what he is this season.
God, it's so funny, like just realizing these Seattle parallels, because Seattle this season has gone through the exact same thing with Jesus Ferreira. This was a guy that they traded for over the offseason, big blockbuster trade, who came in with 50-plus MLS goals. I was hyped on the trade from day one because I watched a lot of FC Dallas with Jesus Ferreira over the years, and I was like, oh, this guy is awesome. He's been a best 11 attacker in the league. He's had 18 goal seasons, and also just from the amount of him that I watched, I believed in the IQ, the versatility, all the Jesus Ferreira attributes that everyone saw during his tenure with FC Dallas. But same thing that you're talking about, didn't score his first goal for a while. He has been getting assists the whole time, but like with Jesus Ferreira, it's like you need to be getting the goals too for it to be really like maximizing what he can be as a player. But I was in your same seat, basically saying I'm pretty sure it's betting on track record. When you have a guy like Jesus Ferreira or Daniel Gazdag, it pretty much doesn't happen where they just like forget how to score goals or forget how to play soccer. That's just something, especially at their ages. Hey, Ferreira is a little younger. I think he's 24. Gazdag is what, 29, 30 or something like that.
I think he's 29 right now.
Older than Ferreira, but still not at an age where it's like he's gonna forget how to put the ball in the back of the net randomly. Age 29 doesn't really happen. So I was basing my patience preaching just purely on that. It wasn't any like big great ball knowledge. It was as simple as he has scored a lot of goals in MLS and he's 24. So the vast likelihood is he's probably going to start scoring goals again, which is why it was a good trade to begin with, because you have this proven track record. And I was saying that the whole time. I took a fair amount of heat for it. People didn't like it. People didn't like my Ferreira takes. They said this guy is horrible. He's a bust. He doesn't know how to score a goal. What are we doing? What was this trade? And go figure. Lo and behold, Seattle's last 3 MLS games, he's got 2 goals, and in their last win over Austin FC, he had a goal and an assist. And so I'm preaching patience to myself. I'm not victory lapping. It's 2 goals, 2 MLS goals that he's scored. But definitely the trajectory as we sit today is definitely pointing like upward in a way that it wasn't a few weeks ago when everyone was calling Jesus Ferreira a bust. So my takes on it are looking pretty good right now. But yeah, like I fully expect Gazdag to click with the crew, playing under a coach this good on a team this good with this roster. There's kind of no way that he doesn't get hot eventually. And like hearing that, I didn't see this Atlanta game. I know Columbus won 3-1, but hearing that he was like a little snake bit and XG merchanting, as we call it, but like not quite finishing that. But that stuff like that evens out. Those chances, if he gets enough of those, they are going to start going in. And anyone in Columbus who's like skeptical on Gazdag, I'm pretty sure it's like a similar situation, and that the track record is going to win out. And that's why it was a great move by what's the GM's name? It's escaping me.
Issa Tall.
Yeah, he took over for Bezbatchenko, and they haven't really missed a beat as far as that goes. But yeah, like I think the best teams in this league, they minimize the risk of assigning whiffing by, there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but one of them is if the guy has already been successful in the league. Gazdag, like you said, leading goal scorer in the history of the Philly Union. That's pretty distinct track record. So yeah, but I'm hoping that he doesn't put it together in this game. But I mean, he's going to like eventually. But I guess that sort of brings me to the next topic, which just this whole thing you were talking about the adjustments in the post-Cucho era, which that was sort of a big headline when Cucho got transferred to Real Betis. And the crew, they said all the right things at the time. Like this was part of like kind of the agreement when we brought him to Columbus, was that if he played well enough and became a superstar, which he did, and he had ambitions of going to Europe or whatever the case may be, we weren't going to hold him back. We were going to let him pursue that. And Cucho earned that. He was one of, if not the best players in the league for like a 2-year span. So it was a headline maker, but it also made sense. But it also put the crew in a situation where they were missing a superstar, one of the best players in the league. So I think that was always going to be an adjustment. But when it happened, I was like, all right, there might be a little bit of a drop off here. But I think Wilfried Nancy, he's the type of coach who can throw Jason Russell-Rowe in there, and he's probably going to bang in some goals. He's not going to be Cucho out there, but you'll get production out of him. And that was in my head earlier this season, like before the season started. I was like, watch it be the Russell-Rowe breakout. I don't know if it's been a full-on breakout, but I look up every now and again, and Jason Russell-Rowe is out there just banging in goals. So I was like, yep, all right, well, that's pretty much the Crew are one of the only teams I could think of that could lose Cucho Hernandez and that not really lose all that much in results. Like you said, they had the tough May, but over there, you look at where they are right now, 1.8 points per game, playing some of the like most aesthetically pleasing, productive attacking soccer in the league. So I don't know, when you look at the post-Cucho era, was there anything Nancy did there that kind of led to them being able to stay afloat and now get back to where they usually are at the top of the league? Or have you been surprised at all at how much Columbus has been able to not just stay afloat, but kind of play at their customary level, even losing a player like Cucho?
Yeah, I'll start off with two things. First off, my guy Patrick Murphy, who was my boss but stepped back a little bit from Massive Report, he wrote a pretty in-depth article about what led up to Cucho leaving. So go check that out on Massive Report. Just search up Cucho; it's the first result. Go check that out. The second thing I'll say is, again, I'm young, but Cucho Hernandez is easily the most talented. And in my mind is up there to be maybe the greatest player in franchise history. He's that good.
Yeah.
No yes,
question.
Absolutely talent-wise. You can talk accolades and whatever. That can be a conversation for another time. But talent-wise, I think that it's him, and it's really not close. He left on, I believe it was deadline day, which really ticked a lot of Crew fans off because now they were like, all right, so you sold Ramirez and then you sell Cucho, so it's really just Diego Rossi, like I said before. Jason Russell-Rowe still has some kinks to iron out in his game. I'll say that, but has been massive leap from where he was even 2-3 years ago when he was starting in games, coming up from Crew 2 and we were short on strikers. He had to start a few games. I will say that I think that his play style is going to be more of a Christian Ramirez. It's going to be more of a hold up player, poacher type player, which is what he's done. But Wilfried Nancy has come and said before in training that he, even when Cucho was on the team, that he believed that Jason was the best finisher in the entire squad. He said that Jason, had the best finishing ability out of everybody, including Cucho, which is incredibly high praise, and we've seen it translate to goals. You look at Jason's play style, it's nothing super glamorous. He has pace and he has a big body and he can win in the air, but he's not going to do anything that makes you go like, oh, wow. But he just scores goals. So he's been productive. And, as Aliyu has come in and Gazdag came in, he's fluctuated in and out of the lineup a few times. But, when he's on the field that he can step up. I will say that from the standpoint of Wilfried Nancy, he always had an ace in the hole with Cucho on the field. If something wasn't going right, and I don't want to make the comparison to Lionel Messi because Cucho is not Lionel Messi, but in the sense of what they are.
He was playing like it for like 2 years.
Yeah. Historically, I don't want to say that, but on their teams, you could give Cucho Hernandez the ball and say, "Help me."
Just do cool stuff. Go, and he would do it. Yeah.
And you'd see him do it. And I think the most recent example of that was in the League's Cup final against LAFC. I think it was tied 1-1 and they gave him the ball on a short corner and he curled the ball in, and maybe it was a cross, maybe it was shot. Nobody will ever know, but he put it in a dangerous area and scored. And it was one of those things where it's just like, give him the ball and get the hell out of the way, because he's going to do something crazy. So now you lose that. And now it's more of you're having to rely more on the team game. And you don't have that ace in the hole, because as much as I love Diego Rossi, he's not that guy. He's not Cucho's level. You can give him the ball and he's going to make 1, 2, 3 guys miss, but he's not going to rope it, top bins from 30 yards like Cucho can, but he can be a playmaker. I think that the emphasis for Wilfried Nancy and the Crew this season has been, without Cucho, more team combined goals. And that's really where they struggled beginning in the year, because it was hard to get on the same page. There was some rust to knock off. And sometimes early in the season where it's like, man, we're playing Montreal and it's 0-0 and we just can't hit anything. Just keep giving the ball to Cucho. He'll figure it out. there's not that guy anymore. You'd think it'd be Diego Rossi, but again, not every player is the same. Not every DP that the crew brings in is going to be the same. We saw that with Lucas Elrayon. We see that with Cucho now. So I think that having a more team-oriented approach and having to get team goals, 13, 14, 15 passes pinging around for a tap-in, maybe getting 2v1s, stuff like that has had to happen. Maybe it's been a few less spectacular goals. We're not seeing a lot of 30-yard curlers or attempted bicycle kicks or the crazy stuff that Cucho used to do. But again, you have to change with the times. And this goes back to Wilfried Nancy being the amazing coach that he is. He can change with the times. He can adjust his system to fit his players. And we've seen that before. He'll tweak formations. He'll tweak, tactic styles. If we have Max Arfson on one wing and Mo Farsi on another wing, who are two extremely proven wing backs in this league, and the other team has Alejandro Bedoya playing left back like they did last week, you got to attack that area. And so we're going to attack the width that time. So it's stuff like that. It's a combination of the players playing team ball and also Wilfried Nancy having to be a little bit more intentional, pinpointing, okay, here's where the team's weakness is. Last week, in this case, it was Philadelphia, and they started Bedoya at left back, which, not a lot of pace out there. So Lassi Lapalainen, who's our backup left back, just streaked right past him and got a yellow card 15 seconds into the game. So it's stuff like that where he's kind of have to put on his thinking cap a little bit more, and the players have to think a little bit more because they don't have Cucho to bail them out anymore. So they have to step it up as well.
Caleb, I just got one more for you, and then I'll let you go. We got Caleb Denorme from Massive Reports helping us preview Sunday Night Soccer, Seattle Sounders versus Columbus Crew. I wanted to ask you about this coming game a little bit. I'm looking real forward to this one. Like, this is there's a few that you circle on the schedule every year, and Columbus is one that I always do because it's just, as long as Wilfried Nancy's there, it's just a great test. You're going up against the best tactical mind, the best coach in the league. Let's see what you can do. Last year, Seattle went to Lower.com Field, and it went smashingly well. Great game. We all have fond memories of that one. And what's funny about that? What's funny about that game is I always consider that game the one that kind of put our show like more on the map than it already was. It wasn't that on the map. And then after that game, it kind of skyrocketed us because do you remember how blazing hot the discourse was after that game? And we kind of came out swinging right in the middle of it, because Wilfried Nancy gave we have a segment on this show called the Blazing Hot Coach Press Conference of the Week that exists in large part because of Wilfried Nancy's presser after that game, where he was going off about like why they didn't have a backup goalkeeper, but like, from our biased perspectives, we're like, what you're saying, like, why would you not, what you did is you didn't put one in the squad to like make a point, and then your goalkeeper got a red card, and it was a bit of a cell phone. But like, it wasn't even like dogging on Nancy at all. You know how much respect I have for Wilfried Nancy, but that was very funny just because of his press conference crash out, and then also just the ensuing fan base discourse. Like, we all had a lot of fun with it, but the reality was like you couldn't really like say that, oh, Seattle got the better of Wilfried Nancy in any kind of like straight up sort of way. They had Sean Zawatsky in goal, and then Seattle put like 4 goals past him, which it was a professional way to handle it, but it wasn't the most impressive win I've ever seen. But now I feel like we're going to get to see these two teams, assuming that Wilfried Nancy brings a backup goalkeeper this time. We will get to see these two teams actually play on a more level playing field than that. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a measuring stick type game. It's a game against one of the best teams in the league with the best coach in the league. So let's see what you got. Seattle just got done with the Club World Cup, beat Austin FC. Austin FC, not the Columbus Crew, not that good. It was a good win, but this would be like a real kind of, I don't know if it'd be a statement win, but whatever team if either team can win this game, I think it would be something of a statement win. But how you see it from a Columbus perspective, What do you think is would be like an acceptable or good result for Columbus in this situation? I think the way I think of it is anytime you have a road trip this long, this is basically across the country. A draw is typically an acceptable result if you can grind one out. But I also, part of me is like, well, the crew are one of those teams that has a different standard. They kind of expect that they can and should win any game that they play. There's no team in MLS that you put up against them where they're like, oh, we're way overmatched, we can't play with them, like this is going to be some impossible task. So with that in mind, and some of the other stuff we've talked about, Gazdag not heated up yet, but probably going to heat up soon, and then just where things stand with the crew in general. How are you sizing up this matchup, and what are your expectations or hopes result wise as Columbus head to Seattle here?
Yeah, so a few things before I hop into that. You're right. The crew are not Austin, and we made very sure of that.
I didn't even say that. Yeah.
No.
I was supposed to make that joke.
We sent Texas that lion sack of crap Anthony Precourt down there, and he's been pretty irrelevant ever since. So I'm happy about that. But the other thing was before that game last year. My mom doesn't watch soccer that much with me, but she was like, how you feeling about tonight? I said, well, there's only one thing that can go wrong, and that would be if our goalie gets a stupid red card. But I said that never happens. Well, then he comes out and cleans this guy's clock, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And all the crew fans on Twitter were like, it's this kid's first game. He's going to be a trivia question answer in 5 years where people are like, who's that goalkeeper made one appearance and got a red? Anyways, I think that when I think about this matchup, two very good teams, two very well-respected teams that I think have mutual respect for each other. Again, like you said, anytime you're on a road trip, in my mind, anytime you're on a road trip, you're thinking draw is good, win is amazing, loss sucks. I mean, any loss sucks, but you're thinking if you can get 1 point in Seattle, cool. Get back home. Get out of there. If you can get a win, better. I do think that it's going to be a tight game. I think from the Crew's standpoint, now I'm not going to put a jinx out there, but they are thin at goalkeeper again. Evan Bush is like, okay. Watch out.
We know how that can go.
Yeah. Evan Bush has started the past few games, and he's been really good. I did see Patrick Schulte is back at training, so we will see if he will be a go. For Sunday. There's still a few days to go before then, so we'll see. And then obviously Abraham Romero is going to be the third, and God, I hope that he doesn't see the field. But Niko Hagen got hurt with Guatemala at the Gold Cup, so he won't be part of it. So we have maybe 2 to 3 goalkeepers. I hope 4 with Sean. So we'll see about that. I think when you think about the roster for the Crew for this game, still going to be without Max Arfston, who's still going to be on international duty. So I would look at that left wing back spot. And really there's been 2 guys who've started there. It's either been Lassi Lapalainen, who has been amazing for the Crew, brought him in and didn't play the first few weeks because he was either injured or wasn't really up to par yet, but got an assist. I believe it was last game. I think he got an assist last game to Mo Farsi, and I think the home game before that to Aliyu in the beginning. So he's been dishing out assists, so watch for him. Or Ibrahim Aliyu could start out there. It's going to be indicative of what Nancy thinks about the Seattle Sounders of who starts. If it's Ibrahim Aliyu, likely a more attacking-focused wing back who will cut in and make those diagonal runs across the back of Seattle's defense, and maybe you want to exploit long balls there. Lapalainen's a little bit more of a winger threat, who is more natural in that position. So we'll look out for that. But I really think that, again, like I said, you get a draw, perfectly good. Get out of there. You get a win, even better. Those are the only question marks, is who's going to start at left wing back and who's going to start at goalkeeper are going to be my biggest questions going into it. I think that I don't know how Seattle has been feeling after the Club World Cup. I know that they were playing a few extra games that the Crew obviously were not. So maybe fatigue will be a part of that. Maybe it won't. Only time will tell. but if I was making a prediction for this game, I would say it's either going to be a 1-1 or 2-2 draw. I think both teams are going to score, but I think it will end up even between the two, and hopefully they'll meet each other down the line, at the ultimate end of things.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty evenly matched, and I never go into a game against the Crew with much of an expectation of keeping a clean sheet. They pretty much never get shut out. It just doesn't happen that much. Like maybe in the like dog days of May that you were talking about, it might have happened.
Yep.
But like when all things are relatively normal, the Columbus Crew you put them out there for 90 minutes in a soccer game and they're going to get at least 2 goals. That's the Wilfried Nancy effect. It's almost like cheating, man. I'm telling you. Dan asks, do the Crew have an Alex Roldan type that can keep a clean sheet? Yeah, his name is Sean Zawatsky. He didn't keep one in the game where he played goalkeeper, but he was competing out there. And you know what? I respected that. He was God, that game was so funny. Like after the like what was so funny was the red card happened and they get the free kick, the first free kick after the red card, and Sean Zawatsky goes in goal, and then Rusnak immediately puts the free kick by him, and you could see Zawatsky, he was just like, all right, like my goalkeeper career is 6 seconds in and I have already conceded. But it was just one of those things where it's like, what do you even do? What do you even take from this? But
I will say, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
One of the funny things that happened at the press conference this week I saw was someone asked Steven Moreira, they're like, hey, if it wasn't Sean going in net, would it be you? And he was like, oh, I don't know. And he was downplaying it. And they're like, well, would you have been better than Sean Zawatsky in goal? And he said, absolutely, yes, he would have, in a joking manner. But, maybe Steven Moreira will hop in goal. Who knows? I don't know. I just don't want to repeat that because I was a goalkeeper all my life. So I was texting my friends and telling them, like, see, maybe not everybody can be a goalkeeper. Maybe you can't cut it. And maybe it needs to be just a secret society.
It proved that being a goalkeeper is way harder than people realize, or that like actual goalkeepers make it look, because Sean Zawatsky is like you mentioned, he's having a breakout year. He's a great player, and he had no chance. And it's not like he didn't know what to do or what he was doing. It's just that when those bullets are flying and that ball is coming at you, and you got like the other team's DPs like teeing up those shots, it's just a different animal. And it did kind of underscore that. The Sounders had a similar situation where Alex Roldan had to play in goal against San Jose a couple years ago, but it was for like 2 minutes at the very end of the game, maybe like a little longer, but not. And he actually famously did not concede a goal and made like a save or two. But like Zawatsky had to do it for like the whole second half.
Yeah, I think it was close to like 50 or 60 minutes. It was not. It was not like, because you were expecting them to go into the locker room and maybe like, who's going to come out with the gloves? Like maybe he'll get subbed out and it'll be someone else. Like you had no clue what was happening. And I just remember sitting there and being like, this is a wash game. This is a throwaway game. And it really made me angry, not because the Crew lost, but because it was such a good game between two good teams.
Yeah.
And it was just ruined by that guy coming out and full on John Cena WWE wrestling move, just took out that Seattle attacker. Oh my gosh, don't even.
What's that kid doing? Is he still on the team?
Yeah, he is. I don't think he's appeared in another game since, but he's like our reserve keeper, because I remember they signed him like 3 weeks prior for that purpose of like, maybe Patrick Schulte was away on international duty. I think Hagen was away, and Evan Bush injured his wrist or something. And so he was the last man standing. But I have to imagine Wilfried Nancy in the locker room. I don't know if a coach, you don't say anything and you just say, go out, play your game, do whatever. Or if you go up to him and you be like, do not go after anybody today. Like, don't leave your feet. Don't send a flying knee into this guy's jaw. Obviously, whatever happened, he didn't listen. And, we have that 5-1 or 4-1 score line to stare at for the rest of eternity.
We'll always have the content. I agree, though. It did like that game was like just a back and forth brawl, like two good teams going at it, and then it just got
Yes.
absolutely blown up by the goalkeeper red.
Yep.
I don't need to see a repeat of that. Like I have the one
No.
the one goalkeeper red card, second half 4-0 at the Crew, and I'll take that. I want to see because this is a measuring stick game for both teams. I want to see where they stack up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Caleb, that's all I got for you tonight, man. Thank you so much for hopping on. Before you go, anything that you're working on with Massive Report or that you guys got coming up or you're doing covering the team that you want to plug or let people know about?
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out if you're a tactics nerd like me, go check out the tactical reviews. It's decently in depth, I think, and I break it down game by game. So hopefully every game, unless it's a short match week, I do every game. So go check those out. Especially for this game, after this game, because I will also be talking about Seattle and maybe talking about what they're doing as well. To get some insight in that. Obviously, go check out Massive Report. We have amazing writers there. They do great coverage of the team and gets really in-depth stuff that a lot of people miss and really have a finger on the pulse, much like you all do. And that's the beauty of MLS is you have these, and that can cover these teams more. So definitely go check out Massive Report. He covers the team, and he's now on Amtrak to Seattle right now. So attendance.
All right. Your audio was cutting out a tiny bit for me at the end there, but I got most of it. Thank you so much again for the time. No, you're all good, man. Appreciate the time tonight. Learned a lot about the Columbus Crew, and I know our audience appreciates it as well. So take care, and we'll collab with you guys, get you guys back on our show at some point soon.
All right, awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, take care. That was Caleb Denorme from Massive Report, previewing the Columbus Crew. Good stuff there. Like I said at the top of the show, one of the best, or a couple times during the interview, one of the best teams in MLS every year for the last 2-3 years. And even in a year where it seems like, especially like he was saying in May, it hasn't gone that well. They're still at 1.8 points per game. So go figure. Coming to Lumen Field on Sunday. Sunday Night Soccer, presented by Continental Tire. It's going to be a good one. We'll see if the Seattle Sounders can build on that 2-0 win versus Austin. All right, let's get into some Sounders news because we got a bit of it. But before we do that, again, like the video, sub to the channel, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, LobbingScorchers.com/sauce. No, am I missing anything? I think that was it. Jake, thanks for the updates on the Defiance score as well. Obviously not keeping track of that. Sounds like they're winning. And there's a Georgie assist. So good stuff from TAC D so far. All right. A couple of Sounders news items to start it off. And then we got some Schmetzer and Rusnak sound that we can get into later as well, if time allows, which I think it will, because I think both of these news items are pretty straightforward. I think there's not like all that much discourse to be had surrounding them. But the first one is some very sad news, which is that JP, evidently, per Sounder at Heart, has sustained a torn ACL, the same one that he tore in the CCL final in 2022 at training. And so he's going to be out for the rest of the season. JP season is over, torn ACL, which sucks. JP was in a backup role on this team this year. He and Danny Leva were the reserve double pivot, essentially. So he really, people were talking about the decline of JP, which, at 33 or whatever he was, I think that wouldn't have necessarily been a shock. But he really just wasn't playing a lot in general. like to be able to get a rhythm, to be able to, find the best 11 form, JP of old. And the thing that is so shitty about this, aside from what it means for JP and his season and his career, but like he and Danny Leyva were gonna, with Leagues Cup coming up and stuff, like he and Danny Leyva were gonna, this was just the start of where he was gonna be playing a lot more, and he gets hurt right as that's happening, so it sucks. Heartbreaking news. And yeah, I think let's take a moment of appreciation for JP, a great sounder who, I was talking during the Club World Cup with Pedro from Glorious Botafogo, and we were talking about JP, like because JP played for Botafogo before he came to Seattle, and we both had similar perceptions of him, of a guy who, it's not just that he was like a great player on the field with next level technical ability, best 11 at the position, had an 11 assist season. But when we talk about things like playing for the badge, laying it all on the line for the club, really the weight of the badge, you can feel that on a player when they're on that field. JP is like the embodiment of that, and he has been his whole time on the team. And they do not win CONCACAF Champions League without JP. They don't. He made some of the biggest plays of that tournament, like kind of small, dirty work plays that you might not. They don't go on the stat sheet necessarily. It's not the flashiest stuff, but he always had that presence for the team. But also, if you guys remember, he drew a massive penalty in Mexico in one of those games. I can't remember exactly which one that was off the top of my head, but I think it was in the game that they ended up tying it 2-2. It was one of the legendary results that they took in Mexico during that run, of which there was a couple. He draws a penalty in one of those games. Leon, yes. There was that one. That play that could have been it. The margins in a tournament like that, very thin. One penalty here or there, like that kind of stuff can make the difference. And he stepped up. He made those plays. Yes, Nico Ladero and Raul Ruidiaz were the stars of that tournament for Seattle, but they don't win it without JP. And he, of course, tore his ACL in the final, which, like, that was so unfortunate because of, like, to have it happen at the apex of that tournament. But, like, at that point, they end up winning that game easily. And he had put so much in that, like, he had as much of an imprint on that CCL title as anyone. So endless respect and appreciation for JP for that. And then, yes, the Brazilian Beastquake, one of the best individual plays I've ever seen on a soccer field. Go back and watch that one again if you haven't watched it in a while. I watched it kind of recently. That was peak JP. That was the type of stuff that he could do, man. What a run. Incredible. So it's sad. It's a sad day. Losing a great sounder for the rest of the season, and at a point where he was just about to start playing a lot. He was. Depending on how they handled Leagues Cup, he was either going to be playing a lot of regular season games or getting a lot of minutes in Leagues Cup. So what happened to the couch cushion? I don't know. I was throwing it around. If it's bothering you, I can move it, but I don't really feel like doing that. That's a more valid complaint than the person who commented that the jerseys in the background are like 0.2 inches off. Hopefully I don't trigger anyone's OCD by pointing that out. But yeah, let's talk about what they're gonna do at that position without JP, because like I said, JP Danny Leyva, that was the reserve double pivot. That's what they had been going with whenever they needed to rest or rotate Christian Roldan and Obed Vargas. So I mean, I think this means a couple things. I hadn't even thought about this from Roberto. Atencio trade sucks right now. Got 2 ACLs, come and get him. Yeah, I mean, I think the Atencio trade, it needed to happen regardless for his sake. Like, I think my impression of that trade was something that like he felt like he needed to do to take the next step in his career and not be in a situation where him getting minutes was dependent on like an injury situation like this. And Colorado straight up bell cow him. They start him every game. He plays like every minute of every game, as far as I can tell. Every time I watch the Rapids, he's out there. So yeah, no, it was a good trade. It's just it's unfortunate they get hit with a season-ending injury at that exact position. But so it goes sometimes. And I mean, yeah, I think there's two things here. Number one, Danny Leyva is going to have to step up. He's already been he's been getting, playing bit parts here and there. Looked fine, I think. Passable, definitely not doing anything like egregious or wrong out there. But I think hopefully this is where we see Danny Leyva step into a bigger role when he's needed to, and actually hopefully become like more of an impact player than he's been, I would say, which I think he has that in him. It's a situation where it's pretty hard to gauge, because when a player's not getting consistent run, getting consistent minutes, it's hard to get in a rhythm. It's hard to like make an impact like you can when you're in a rhythm, you're getting regular minutes, you have extended, reliable opportunities to make that impact. Danny Leyva hasn't had that in his career, really. Like, I don't know. It's been all sort of this bit role, fits and starts, second half cameos. So Danny Leyva, let's see if he can step up. And then a few people have already mentioned it in chat, but Snyder Brunell. Jake was saying that they are reportedly signing him. I don't know. I haven't seen that confirmed. But I think they're gonna, if they haven't done that, or if that hasn't been announced. I don't know if anyone can confirm if that's been announced. But if it hasn't been announced, I mean, it's gonna get announced. That's one thing they're gonna do. And I guess that's one. Okay, it is confirmed. So they're signing Snyder Brunell to the first team, which you wish it wasn't an almost official announcement. Okay. You wish it wasn't under these circumstances, but it is. That's an exciting development in the sense that I mean, we get a chance to see another homegrown make the first team, and see if he can make it. When did Standard Heart drop that? I was just reading. I was reading about Noah, Ohio on there. Okay, so I do read it, but I didn't see the Snyder report. Drop the link. Scored for Defiance tonight, but like, I know I've only watched Snyder Brunell like when I watch Defiance here and there, and I do know he is one of the best players on that team, and I also know like internally he's a guy that he's in that group of guys on Defiance who the idea is, all right, this guy is a first team player. He hasn't had his opportunity yet. He's only like 17. But from everything I've heard if you ask any of the coaches about him or anyone kind of plugged into the youth setup, he's like, if he's not the guy on that team, maybe Osaze was that guy, but now he's kind of been in the first team mix, so he's sort of graduated past that. Snyder Brunell is like in that category of homegrown Defiance players who they very much see as a player that's going to meaningfully contribute for the first team in the future, and he's going to get his chance. Like, it's a big hit to a position group that had a lot of depth. I think it was among the more straightforward position groups on this roster. Was that double pivot? It was Obed and Christian starting, JP, Danny Leyva backing them up, which that was a good rotation. But now that's in flux a little bit with JP going down. And Snyder Brunell, I think he's gonna get. I don't think it's like he's gonna be totally buried and never get on the field type situation. Like I think they're gonna give him a little bit of run, which that'll be cool. That'll be cool to see because if nothing else, when you get a homegrown guy called up like that, there's the intrigue of like maybe this guy could be really good. Like maybe he could be not just a starter, but like an impact player. We don't know with Snyder Brunell right now, so maybe we'll get to find out. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, when Kim Ki-hee gets back if they don't deputize him in there a little bit. He has played there in his career, like D-mid. He's a center back first and foremost, but that might be something that they do. So we'll see. All right, here is the link. Snyder Brunell will sign first team contract with Sounders. There you have it. Yeah, I'm a bad employee. Didn't read that. The Snyder Brunell show starring Snyder Brunell as Snyder Brunell. It's starting. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I had to say about that situation. It just sucks a lot. And anytime a guy has a season-ending injury, it sucks. But you especially feel for JP in this situation, because he's been such a great Sounder, great guy, great leader, and his role was about to increase. Alex rolled on at D-mid. Yeah, that's going to happen too. We did not talk about Noah, Ohio, so let's do it. Let's do it. Because that's his actual name, as I understand it. Hold on. I'm just going to pull up Niko's tweet here because it was his report, so I want to give him his credit. We have a transfer rumor related to the much discussed U22 spot. I have a couple shout outs on this, actually. One is for Niko, who I'm going to pull his tweet up right now. But the other is for Tim Foss of Sounder at Heart, who wrote an article on Sounder at Heart discussing potential U22 transfer targets. And this guy apparently was on it. So let's learn about him because I know absolutely nothing about him. This is from Niko. Per sources, turns out Dutch forward Noah, Ohio. Am I being trolled that his name is Noah, Ohio? Noah, Ohio? I feel like this is a bit. Yeah, I won't watch the highlights. Learned that lesson. Although apparently if you play GIFs of them on Twitter and Blue Sky, you don't get DMCA'd. I'm not going to do it because I don't know that for a fact, but I did do it before and didn't get popped. So maybe that's a workaround. Dutch forward Noah, Ohio, who's recently mentioned in a Sounder at Heart report by Tim Foss as a potential Sounders target, is more than that. This is the big part. Told there's an actual offer on the table for the former Red Bull Leipzig player, and negotiations are ongoing. So this is the thing. This is not like one of those aggregator rumors where they're just kind of like pulling out random names that are available on the transfer market and then like saying this team is linked to them and then nothing ever comes of it. According to Niko, there's an offer on the table. For Noah, Ohio. Is that based on his ability or on his name? I don't know, but there he is right there. That's him wearing the number 9 for Red Bull Leipzig. or I guess, is it RB Leipzig? I always call it Red Bull because but like, someone told me at one point that it's like, that's not the name. I don't know. So we'll see if they get this one over the line. But Noah, Ohio is evidently yeah, here we go. Thanks, Jake. 6'1" striker, 22 years old, 2.3 market value. So that's what we're looking at. And it's kind of funny because Niko and I specifically have talked a fair amount about like the types of players that he's been hearing that are linked to Seattle for this U22 spot. And what Niko was telling me on the last episode of Lobbing Scorchers Kickoff is that the budget that we're talking about in terms of the transfer fee is not an exciting number. Like when we look at the big time transfers in this league, I think you got to be at least talking about De La Vega money, but even that's on the low end at this point. You like $10+ million. That's when people start to go, oh, okay. This guy's market value according to Transfermarkt, so make of that what you will, but his value is 2.3. So I'd imagine if they do acquire this kid, it'll be in that sort of price range, which that's not going to get people that excited. It's not. They're going to say it's money balling. They're going to say it lacks ambition. And they're going to say Ohio is terrible without having watched him play. I'm going to try and keep an open mind in the sense that a man's market value on Transfermarkt or on a transfer fee, that doesn't necessarily define them. If they've scouted him up and they think he can outperform that and perform at a level of a player that they spent a bigger fee on, I'll keep an open mind. I'm not going to condemn him to bust status before I watch him play, especially with a name like Noah, Ohio. But let's take a look at his career. Let's do this. Can I look at his Transfermarkt on there, Noah? Is that gonna get me DMCA'd? Pretty sure I can do this. Let's see. Let's just take a look at the Transfermarkt. Check out where he's been in his career. How many goals he's scored, what clubs he's played for. All that good stuff. Noah, Ohio. Dutch center forward, 22 years old. There you have it. Current market value, 2 million euros. One thing I read about this guy earlier is that apparently he's boys with Jude Bellingham. Like, not just acquaintances, but it's like this is Jude Bellingham's like best childhood friend. So if he comes to the team and then convinces Jude Bellingham to join him, that could be a W. But yeah, here, let's take a look at his stats. Let's see if I can zoom this in a little bit. There we go. This season in the Eredivisie, 5 goals, 23 appearances. Not terrible. Kitchen Champions League, 2 goals, 3 appearances. Looks like he did a little stint in the championship. He's been around. Played a lot of soccer for a 21-year-old. I guess 146 games, top flight. And I'm seeing 41 goals. I think some of these are this is like youth leagues too, so not all top flight. So you got 10 goals for some U17 squad. Bundesliga, 5 goals. Jude Bellingham to the Sounders via Noah, Ohio agenda. Yeah, that's sort of, so that's the impression that I was getting to, Wade. When I look at a player like this, here's what I'll say. Craig Wives has been very clear that he whatever U22 they bring in, it's not with the intent of it being a developmental spot. We've talked about that a lot. He's talked about that a lot. He's been very clear that they want and need this to be a player that is not just going to bench ride, that's going to contribute, that's going to play, that's going to produce. That like puts more pressure on it. Honestly, usually you hear him say like, "Oh well, it'll be a U22, so we don't know. We're gonna have to work him in, ease him in. I want to keep expectations down, but we're cautiously optimistic that at some point down the line he can be in it." Usually you get that. Greg Wives has been saying like, "No, like when we fill this spot, the reason that we're being so like patient and methodical about it is that we can't have someone coming in and not be ready to contribute and be bench riding." He said that. I will say and this is purely vibes based. This has I know nothing about the player. I literally haven't even watched his highlights. I looked up his bio a little bit and then just looked at the transfer market with you guys right now. So I don't know anything about him, but purely based off vibes, when you have like a player who's like 20, 21 years old like this, who is like fringe, like solid, good prospect status, but hasn't scored much yet. And that is a projection situation. You're taking a bet. You're projecting that if you get them into your team with your coaching and you give them the minutes, they'll outproduce what they've been able to at this point in their career. That's just a bet. That's a bet. And if you got like full confidence in your scouting and the types of profiles of players that fit in your system and on your team, both on and off the field, and you feel like that you can get them to a place where they're going to make that impact, then that's great. You should bring them in. But it's definitely not a sure thing. And kind of what I was getting to is I feel like I've seen this type of profile player a lot, and the hit rate's just not that high. We've gone through the U22 hit rates on this show, just looking at what clubs have and haven't had success with them. And it's pretty hit or miss. Some teams are really good at it. Like we went through that list, and there are a few teams where you looked at their U22s and it was all guys that like play and contribute and score and make an impact every week. But there's more names that were just like, that never really did anything, that never lived up to it. So if they get Ohio, I guess that's his nickname. If they get Ohio, we'll see if they can get out of him what they think they're going to get out of him. But I don't know. I am looking at this a little bit like I see what Niko was saying when he was Niko said something to the effect on kickoff of like, the players that they're looking at like seem good, but it's not like names or profiles of players that are necessarily going to get people super excited. And I think this falls into that category. It's a young player that not a lot of people know about, that hasn't played a lot of games, and that you're projecting. And it would also be for a transfer fee that is perceived to be like lower than they should be spending, or ambitious or whatever. Now I'm not going to put any of that on him yet. I'm not. They haven't acquired him, first of all, yet. But let's just say they do. Let's say that Noah, Ohio, or even like this profile, this even if they don't end up getting Noah Ohio, I think this tells us, that's kind of what's interesting about this. This tells us the types of profiles of players that we're talking about. Guys between the ages of 20, 21, early 20s guys who are in like prospect, unproven prospect status that have a lot of potential, but maybe haven't realized it yet. And you're talking about transfer fees that are more like 2 to 3 million as opposed to 8 to 10. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, like in theory. I really don't. I've said plenty of times that I value what you bring on the field, not what your transfer value is. And I think there's so many examples of reasons why people shouldn't care about stuff like that as much as they seem to. We're witnessing one of those examples right now with Toronto FC. If you think your transfer fee will get you success, look at what has happened to our Canadian brethren who shelled out the most transfer money in MLS over the last like 3 or 4 years, other than maybe Atlanta. They're in the top 2 to 3 teams. For Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi, who, God love them, they rolled up to MLS. They vaped at practice. They fought at practice. They vaped on the plane. They didn't score a lot of goals. They won pretty much no games. Didn't get close to any trophies. And now they're gone. What more can we get for a 22-year-old for 43K-ish per year? Yeah, I mean, it is, I guess it is roughly like in what you would expect. But, I mean, that's what you're paying them when they get there. They, like, the transfer fee isn't necessarily related to that. You see what I'm saying? The vaping is true. That was reported. That was Tom Bogues had that one. Bernardeschi was, he had his vape, and he was going to hit it. He was going to hit it at practice, and then when he hit it on the plane, that was when they were like, "You can't. What are you doing? What are we talking about?" And he was like, "I want to vape." That part of it wasn't reported. Let me be clear about that. I don't know if that conversation took place. I imagine when they saw him vaping on the plane, some sort of conversation like that took place. That you can't vape on the plane. He was vaping on the plane. You don't vape on the plane. But to be fair, Bernardeschi actually played some good ball for them. It's not like it didn't make a difference. They didn't win anything. Didn't matter. The transfer fee was still not money well spent. But he did have productive stretches. He scored some good goals. He actually played well at times. Bernardeschi's good. He's a good player. Insigne, I have no idea what was going on with that. The guy went from leading Italy to the Euro title to going to Toronto FC and crashing out and like forgetting how to play the game almost. You know how I was saying that players like Daniel Gazdag and Jesus Ferreira just don't forget how to play soccer? Insigne, like, I guess, is a counterpoint to that because it seems like he kind of did. The point is, I would 100 times out of 100 rather the Sounders sign a guy like Noah Ohio for 2.3 and have him actually come in and be a player and produce and contribute to winning than I would then have them spend $15-20 million, which they can't do because they're broke. But if they could spend 15 to 20 on guys like Bernardeschi and Insigne, who if they did that, everyone would be like, "Oh my God, this is the beacons of ambition, Ambition FC, $15 million on Insigne, build the statue of Hanauer. But then he comes in and doesn't do shit. That's how it goes sometimes. So there's just more to it than that. Oh yeah, okay, Joey, you're right. They were making $15 million a year. So the point pretty much stands. Insigne was the third highest paid player in MLS. He was on 15 million this year, and they had to buy him out. They're paying him that money to do whatever. I don't even know if Bernardeschi had another club lined up. No idea what Insigne is doing. Ohio is a hilarious name, and I kind of still can't believe that. It's kind of surreal. Noah, Ohio. It's fire. I hope they go get him, and I hope he's hella good. Imagine the content for us if a guy named Noah, Ohio comes to the team and then he actually just is hella good for multiple different reasons. I think the obvious one is that having a guy named Noah on the team would be a good bit, but the Ohio aspect of it actually contributes to this as well. Colton, who used to live at the Lobbing Scorchers mansion, is a big Ohio guy. He's a Bengals fan. Loves Ohio. So it's that's when I say that I feel like I'm being messed with this. It's like the Lobbing Scorchers prototype name. It's kind of wild. Tacoma 4-4, 95th. This Defiance game seems just lit. What is going on? Buying a guy for $2 million ends up flopping is better than buying a guy for $8+ million and then they flop. Yeah, I mean, ideally, when you have any kind of million, you don't want them to flop. But my point is I can already see the discourse coming. I can see it coming from a mile away. If they drop 2.3 or whatever this kid is worth on Transfermarkt on the signing, people are going to skewer it before the dude even plays 1 minute. You're we already know what's coming. I'm not going to partake in that. I'm going to give Ohio a chance to prove himself. Approach it with an open mind. He does have some pedigree. It's not like a Moneyball situation where it's just like a guy that's totally out of nowhere that's not rated, So we'll see. There can be only one. I will be doing anything I can to make sure this transfer doesn't go through. I've already started a rivalry with him. See, this is what I'm saying though, a little Noah rivalry. We could use that. We're going to have to get him on the pod if his name is Noah, Ohio. That's about all the Ohio thoughts that I had because I heard his name for the first time 3 or 4 hours ago. So we'll be tracking Ohio in the coming days. The thing about this that's so noteworthy, I think, is just that Niko said they made an offer and talks are ongoing. So it seems like this is one that they feel all right, if we can get this guy to come to the club, they clearly, based on what Craig Weibel has told us, they think he can come in here and be a impactful MLS player off rip. That's the standard. That's the implication. But we got some Brian Schmetzer sound and some Albert Brusnak sound. So I'm gonna play the Schmetz sound, see what he has to say. Then, depending on how much time we spend on that, maybe hit Rusnak. But planning on going about 2 hours tonight, so I think that should see us down the home stretch. But as always, if you guys got any questions or topics in chat that you want me to hit, feel free to drop them in. And like the video, go watch the Beano board video where Noah mobbed around the Club World Cup. I'm gonna drop that link in chat. Actually, I'm gonna drop that link in chat because it's a good video. Everyone, go give a watch and a view to the Beano board video, please, and thank you. What was I doing? Oh yeah, Schmetz sound. Play the Schmetz sound, react to it a little bit, maybe talk some more Columbus Crew. Oh, wow. Schmetz was mic'd up by DAZN? How did I miss that? I have to check that out. All right, here's the Schmetz video. This is from training yesterday. I actually haven't watched this yet, so let's see what Schmetz has to say. I'm not watching the DAZN content. I meant watch it on my spare time.
Looks like Pedro de la Vega cut his hair. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Sorry to cut that off, but that was a news item that I completely forgot about that I wanted to talk about real quick. All right. That was Jackson Feltz on the question. So I'm going to put Jackson Feltz's picture on the screen. Pedro de la Vega did cut his hair. And this is actually newsworthy, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, there you see it. It's not like the most high-res photo, but that's Pedro. See this? That's Pedro de la Vega right there. No flow. The flow is gone, which I think, okay, all right. This is newsworthy anyway because the flow is what De La Vega was. That was kind of his thing. That's like what he was known for. Whole time he's been on the team, the flow has been like the distinguishing feature. It's his trademark. It's kind of his vibe. He's got the flow. He cut it all off. So what does this mean? What is the significance? Here's what I can tell you about when an athlete changes the hair up. And I've been around this team for a long time. Been around NFL players a little bit in my time working in this field. And one thing I can tell you is that when an athlete does a drastic hair change, it's because they feel like the vibes are off. The vibes are off. It's the way they want it to click. It's not working. It's not there. And so they change the hair to just change it up. Yeah, fresh start. Exactly. This tells me that De La Vega is like, vibes are off right now. I'm not playing how I want to play. I'm not playing up to the standard that I want to play at. I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do something drastic. I'm going to do something drastic and just cut it all off. I've been there. It's not even just athletes. I've done that. I famously, during the COVID lockdown, bleached my hair Justin Bieber blonde. Just because the societal vibes were off, So I figured if I did that, it's a little different. It's It's a little different, but for an athlete, it's a 100% like a vibe shift, vibe reset. So I'm speaking in jest a little bit. It's not like a huge deal that he got a haircut, but I honestly do think that it is a genuine indication that in his own mind, he's like, this is off right now. This is off right now. I'm going to just cut all the hair, reset the vibes. Areola in the background also with the bleached hair. Jordan Morris and Paul Areola both did this as well when they were rehabbing their injuries. It's a thing. It's a thing with the hair. Well, Jackson actually asked him about it, so let's hear what Schmetzer has to say about this. I'm actually curious now.
New short look, but
Looks good. He's a good-looking young man. They do what they do. They're living life. Pedro's in a good mood. He's working hard at training. That's all I can ask for.
after looking at the tape from Austin, what stood out about how you guys performed?
Well, there's a lot of things, but in general terms, I mean, I liked some of the possession sequences we had. The goal was exceptional, but there were other possession sequences where maybe it's not 27 passes, but where we want the players, how they got out of pressure, spaces that we occupy, but different people in those spaces. I thought it was real good. Defensively, a couple things we could clean up, but, Austin didn't create a ton. They had some chances, some moments where maybe with a little bit more, discipline on their side, they would have made us pay. But overall, it was a good performance.
Brian, there was a couple of chances that were created by Albert, just putting the ball into space over the top, behind the defense, even when you're possessing the ball. Is that something you're working on in general?
He's been doing that since he's been here. His connection with Jordan from a deeper position has always been there. I think he's played guys in from back here, but I think you're talking about maybe some when he gets the ball out there a little bit further from goal, some of the crosses. I mean, he has it in his tool bag, and, Danny Masowski has done really well. Not just the goal he scored with his feet, but he had a couple half chances, being good in the air inside the box. And, Albert's good enough to recognize that.
That's a good problem to have, but now that Jordan's going to be coming in with some minutes, how do you handle that specifically?
Same way I'm handling, Kalani and Alex and Yaimar, Kim Keehee and Jackson and Ryan Kent and Paul and Pedro and Jesus and Jordan and Danny. The list goes on.
Speaking of Yaimar and Kim, it looked like Yaimar was a partial participant today in training.
Yeah, he's probably still 2 weeks away. I'm going to get an update after he gets through some of these partial trainings. But, again, the calf muscle, especially a big, powerful guy like him, I want to be careful. But they're getting closer. I may be, 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I'd be hopeful for closer to 2 weeks, but we'll see.
And if they're in Stuart Hawkins, how he's doing?
He's still out. He's 3-4 weeks out.
How do you build up on this performance? I mean, you talked about all the good things. It seemed like at time maybe there were some transition moments where the pass could have been a little bit quicker or cleaner. Yes. So how do you build up that for the upcoming game?
Well, we've messaged it. Somebody's got to let Maz in. Hey, let Maz in. I mean, do I have to do everybody's job here? What I would say is against a team like Columbus, who really values the ball, we can't afford to be sloppy or lazy or ineffective with our passing, because when they get it, they're keeping it for a minute or two. And you don't want to chase the ball all game. So we'll have to do a little bit better job there. But at the same time, I think we're turning into a pretty good possession team too. And if we can get past their initial counter press, we have to make them suffer a little bit too.
Ryan, in terms of you being a possession team, are you looking to move the ball from right to left? Because I noticed in the first 10 minutes you said something to.
Oh, we're always trying to change the point of attack, but look, with our group, not so sure we're a classic possession team because I think we got some high motor guys. We're also good in transition with Jordan and Moose and Paul and other guys. But yeah, moving a team side to side is always one of the things. Playing through the middle first and then going wide. I mean, there's a lot of things that we try and accomplish. Each game just manifests itself a little differently.
Is that what you meant in terms of decisions by the players? Organically
It's
making
always
that
on them.
happen.
Yeah. We give them the outline, but on the field they have to, they have to make those decisions.
Was this Jesus' first most complete game, would you say? Statistically, and eye test.
Yeah, it's a good goal. But he missed a chance earlier that he maybe, he's a little unselfish there. He was trying to play the ball back in the middle, but I think he could have done the same thing, make the goalkeeper make a save. And there was a defending moment where he lets guys go inside. So, it's still a work in progress, but it was a very good performance. Something that, fans are going to say, hey, goal and assist. We're finally getting, what we got when we made the deal. But I always say that Jesus brings a little bit more to the table. I like the way he defends, his work rate. You can't question that. So, I see it a little differently maybe than fans and just guys that worry about goals and assists. But he had a good game.
Danny Masarski play inside the box. What's your take on
another
that?
guy that, might have been off the radar earlier on, but 7 goals this year, all comps. His hold-up play, the goal he took, it's all good. All good for me. Defensively, you talk about defending, that the goal that we scored in the second half, Danny Masarski drops back and defends the pivot like we asked him to do. And then we win the ball. We get a free kick. Okay, then the rest is history, 27 passes. But his work defensively is what won us the ball in the first place.
And he had a near goal as well early where he just couldn't get his hips around.
Yeah, long throw.
Yeah.
We got a long throw. We got scored upon from a long throw against Atletico. So we're taking hints.
And Brian, you always have been the top in terms of corner kicks and everything. I wouldn't say frustration, but is there a way to try to take advantage of
We're
that?
talking about some things. I mean, we're looking at different, schemes and things, putting guys in the right spots. But there again, it's just delivery and life or death in the penalty box. So, that to me is most of it.
Given Danny Masarski and how well he's done years since coming in, is Jordan an option on the wing perhaps to keep Danny on the field?
Maybe. I mean, Jordan, I think he wants to play number 9. I think he thinks that's his position. So that would take a little bit of, cajoling. But, look, late in games, can we play with 2 forwards? Sure. And Jordan always liked to play in that left pocket. Maybe Masarski's more central. There's different ways you can skin that.
Speaking of, you talked about defense a little bit. How impressed or have you been by just Christian Roldan being able to carry his performance of the Club World Cup and put it into Austin and be just as good and effective as he was on both sides of the ball against Austin?
Can't remember first half, second half, but the time when we lost the ball up there, Paul or someone lost the ball up there, he sprints back and the slide tackle with the outside of his right foot. I mean, it's great. He kept his level high.
Jackson Reagan, I would assert, I'm not a coach, that this is the best that he's been playing in terms of decision. He had a couple of those passes that didn't kill you from the back.
Well, in the first half, he gave one right to him.
Yeah.
So let's pump the brakes here a little bit. But he is awfully good at what he does best, which is see the field, start our attacks, find balls, breaking lines, all of that sort of stuff, what makes him an elite center back. But, yeah, sometimes when you have that confidence and you take some risks, sometimes it comes back to bite you.
How do you channel that in terms of the confidence, but yet don't be too confident?
I'm not channeling anything. That's him. He is a confident kid by nature, quiet confidence, not the loudest, but you can tell when he's feeling good and finding passes, and then that's the easy thing to see, long, the ooh-ah passes, but some of the simple things he does, just playing one touch, 15 yards ahead of the play. Those are the moments that really open up games for us.
And he's been tackling without making the foul. A couple times in a game, he'll come and make that tackle.
Well, his press guy's pretty good, and I don't mind if he makes a foul at midfield, but closer to goal, he can still work on his defending.
Right, I can't remember if you were asked this in the post-game conference, but I believe Stephen Fry got to 1,000 saves in his career. And your thoughts on that in general?
Just another checkbox. I mean, the guy's done it all. He's done it all, and we're happy to steal him from Toronto and have him finish his career with us.
This is a week late, but Memorial Stadium closed.
Yeah,
just
I
your
read
thoughts.
It. Yeah, a lot of iconic venue. Went there in 1974, 75. Played soccer there at high school. Nathan Hale. Rebirth of the Sounders when I first took over. We played there. Lots of rain matches there. Soccer, football. I mean, it's been an iconic Seattle institution, but from the renderings I see, I think it's going to be pretty nice. And it probably was time for a redo. But
Brian, obviously no Sounders there on the MLS All-Star game, but I want to focus on what your thoughts are on the event itself. Do you like MLS All-Star game? Would you do it any differently?
I don't know much. I don't know enough about what they got scheduled for this year, but in general, I think All-Star games are kind of part of the American sports scene, and they're exciting events. I like the home run derby, 3-point shooting. Now football's got their skills stuff. I mean, we're doing some stuff, the ball. I think it's good entertainment.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. That was Schmetzer after practice yesterday. Oh, wow. Schmetzer after practice yesterday. One, I thought, newsworthy item from that. Ymar. 2 weeks out. Supposedly about. God, I can't wait for him to be back. Kim Ki-hee was holding it down. And I thought J Bell played really well, actually, in the Club World Cup, especially against PSG. I actually thought J Bell was... You could not have asked him to do anything more than he did against PSG. And then you had Alex Roldan, who also... You couldn't have asked for anything different. But I think Ymar's absence from the Club World Cup was tough, man. It was tough. Do they concede a couple of those silly goals if he's on the field? Maybe they still do. But I can't wait to have him back. The physical presence, the leadership, the positioning, the aerial dominance. 2 short weeks, hopefully. Ymar will be back. Schmetzer was also talking Jesus Ferreira a little bit. Someone asked if that was his best game or his most complete game. He said it was statistically, but there was a couple instances where he mentioned something that I've been noticing a lot this year, which is too differential. Too differential. Wanted to be a little more selfish. I was glad he pointed that out. I hope they're coaching him on that. Take the shot. There's a couple instances in that game where he could have been a little more selfish, and I get it. I think part of we've talked a lot about like his tactical fit. Can he and Rusnak play together? To me, honestly, pretty big part of what was going on earlier in the season was him not wanting to be like the guy who comes into the new team and then is like just trying to take all the shots for himself. He's an unselfish player by nature. He's a pass first player. He's like a point guard that can also average 20 points a game, you know? Did that make sense? He's a pass first player. And there's been a lot of times this season where he's trying to be like, no, like, I'm the new guy on the team. You take it, you score the goal. But then it's like, no, you're good at scoring him. You got to try and score him. I think that's sort of what Schmetzer was getting at there. There was a couple times in that Austin game. And then I don't even know if the one he brought up, if this was one of the ones he brought up, but he also could have had a goal on the run that Ryan Kent had. So hopefully we see Jesus Ferreira. Look, for me, I wouldn't say he's like fully broken out yet, but based on what I've seen the last few MLS games, and especially that game against Austin was really good. That looked like FC Dallas Jesus Ferreira. It did. That is what I pictured. That game is what I pictured when they traded for him. So to see him do that was great. But if Ferreira starts playing like that, he's going to be a pretty clear starter on this team. I think so. I realize I think I'm probably higher of him than most Seattle people at this point, because I've been basing a lot of my evaluation on him, like on track record, not just this season, which is his first season on a new team for the first time in his career. But if he has to keep it up, he has to sustain it. But if he keeps playing like that and he keeps producing, there's not going to be a first choice Sounders starting 11 without Jesus Ferreira in it. And there shouldn't be, because that's the type of quality he can bring. So let's see if he can still bring it. Again, not victory lapping. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to take my Ferreira victory lap, because it's going to feel a lot sweeter when it's just like undeniable. So I'm waiting. But hopefully he can keep it rolling against Columbus. I think he's probably going to start. And we'll see if he can employ some of the stuff Schmetzer was talking about there. And then he was talking about Moose a little bit. Sort of just like he went down like the whole kind of depth chart management that he has to do between all the position groups. This is what I was going to ask Chet. You think it'll be Jordan Morris or Moose starting on Sunday? I think it's going to be Moose. I think they're going to keep trying to ease Jordan back into it for now, especially with Moose coming off a game where he had another goal and really just like a all-around good game. I mean, he's going to start Moose, have Moose go 60, 70, have Jordan finish the game. But that's going to be interesting because, like, say they start Moose and Moose scores another goal. Yeah, I agree, Vamos. But then it's like, how long? Like, so the first time he doesn't score a game, is that when you put Jordan Morris back in as the starter? These are those man management scenarios that coaches have to deal with. Keeping guys happy, making sure everyone's playing their role, getting their minutes. I don't necessarily envy it. Hard decisions to make. All right, guys, I'm coming up on 2 hours. I think I'm going to start wrapping it up here. Maybe a little bit of a shorter one than usual, but it's been a long week. Got the 4th tomorrow. Got a big weekend of MLS. There's a bunch of games tomorrow. And then full slate Saturday. And then Sunday night soccer. Seattle's going to be on it. Prime time, baby. We all know everyone watches Sunday Night Soccer presented by Continental Tire. So it is, in all seriousness, it is fun to be like the prime time, the showcase match. I guess that's one thing. That's one thing we can do before I get out of here. This is the perks, folks. This is the perks that come with being on Sunday Night Soccer presented by Continental Tire. You get featured in Matthew Doyle's preview piece, where look how much he writes about the goddamn Seattle Sounders this week, folks. I mean, you got players in focus. You got what's at stake. You got Weeby's radar. I haven't even read that yet. I like did the web production for this whole thing before we had the text for Weeby yet. Oh, and he's doing Jesus Ferreira discourse. You got the tactical breakdown. This is it. This is everyone's talking about it. You got projected lineup graphic. Okay, so here's there are actually a couple things to hit with this. I said I was going to go 2 hours. I'm going to go a little past. So number one, chat, tell me what you think of this, because Doyle's been beating a drum that we have not really talked about at all. It's occurred to me briefly at different junctures, but I never really started beating the drum. And now we got Doyle beating the drum. But basically, and he says it in this column, you can check it out for yourself. But Doyle is trying to speak this into existence right here. De La Vega on the left. He thinks that might be the key to it all. He didn't like guarantee it, but this is a Doyle theory that De La Vega's struggles, and I don't know if this is based on him playing at Lanús there or if this is just theorizing, but he's saying that De La Vega's struggles could be just because, you know, they've been playing him inverted on the right wing. Maybe if you just pop him on the left, that'll be what unlocks him. What do you guys think of that? It feels like a vibes-based thing to me, but I'm down to try it. He cut the hair, put him on the left. I bet if you combine the haircut with the positional change, the vibes will change just enough to get him going. I'm honestly, at this point, I'm down with it. Maybe that is what it is. Maybe that is what it is. He's got Moose starting. I think this is it. I think this is going to be it. Pedro Alex connection, but also just like where he is his most comfortable, feels the most natural. Now that I think about it, I watched a lot of his Lanús highlights when they signed him, obviously, and I'm pretty sure he was playing over there at least sometimes. Could be wrong about that. It's something to try. Like, it's good food for thought. Let's see who he's got starting for Columbus. God, their team is good. Oh, it's really good. It is funny, though, like Russell-Rowe where Cucho used to be, but it like still works. That was a lot of his highlights. Okay. That's what I thought. Played on the left against on his debut against LAFC and was very good. I think Doyle might have cooked on this. I'm annoyed he thought of it. I mean, it's occurred to me, but not. I'm not going to sit here and say it's occurred to me to any meaningful extent. Like as a, it's like his agenda right now. Like I definitely never had an agenda about it. But we're gonna on our next agenda check. Actually, this will be in there. We're going to talk about this. Crew are likely going to be running a band of three: Jason Russell-Rowe, Daniel Gazdag, Diego Rossi. Not as intimidating on a lineup graphic as it was in the Cucho days, but I'm telling you guys, Jason Russell-Rowe, he's dangerous. He's actually pretty good. Diego Rossi's a best 11 caliber attacker. And Gazdag, like Caleb and I were talking about it in the opponent preview today, but he's going to heat up. Pedro been injured. Brian doesn't seem to be playing him, and he had the best per 90 stats all this year until Jesus last match. I don't think that's the issue right now. I mean, as far as I know. That's why I've been saying, like, I thought it was kind of weird that he didn't play against PSG. I was accused of wearing a tinfoil hat. I don't think I'm tinfoil hatting. I think that's like, why is your $7 million player not playing against PSG? It's at least a question worth asking. Maybe it does have an innocent answer. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't know. I'm going to ask the question. Yeah, Nagby is still that dude. Diego Rossi does strike fear in my bones. Nagby strikes fear in my bones, but like a different type of fear. They're also really good defensively, and their fullbacks are disgusting. I think Lopalainen's the backup, but Farsi's really good. I picked the team I thought would win. Yeah. Niko did ask him about it. And Schmetzer got really tilted. But it's like that. I mean, that question has to be asked. All right, let's see what Weeby has to say about Jesus Ferreira. I hadn't read this yet. How does Jesus Ferreira best fit into this Seattle Sounders group? Open question that. Head coach Brian Schmetzer is still figuring out, and so is Ferreira. Ferreira's FC Dallas history tells us he's the most comfortable and productive as a sort of second forward number 10 with the freedom to find the ball and find the game with runners oriented around him. In Dallas, the team was built around him and the game flowed through him. In Seattle, Ferreira is integrating into an established, successful group. Albert Rusnak is the number 10. Full stop. Schmetzer prefers to play with one striker. So where does that leave Ferreira, whose goal-scoring numbers are close to per 90 career lows? Great question, Weeby. Welcome to the discourse. Mostly on the wing and still trying to fit in. Ferreira's goal against Austin, arriving at the perfect time to slam home Paul Rothrock's service at the far post, was a positive sign. 24-year-old told me back when SNS rolled through versus Minnesota United that he was still getting to know his teammates and developing an understanding of their tendencies on the field. Fitting in takes time, and the second half of seasons always seems to be Sounders' time. Perhaps it will be Ferreira's as well. All right, well, there you have it. There's some national punditry acknowledging the Jesus Ferreira discourse. That's we've been having the exact same discourse all season, but to be fair to Weeby in the national pundit class, like there's not as much of a reason for them to be specifically plugged into the Jesus Ferreira discourse on a daily basis, like we all are. But I mean, I think he hit it as well. Like it was a positive sign. So anyway, there you go. Check out Doyle's Sunday Night Soccer previews. Check him out every week. He does that he writes that many words for the Sunday Night Soccer game every week about every game, every team. It's always fun to be one of the teams that the national pundits are like breaking down, because like Seattle, Seattle's not as much in like the national discourse group as they used to be. There are times where I'm like reading stuff that like national league-wide coverage, and I'm like looking for the Sounders portion of it, and I think in part that's sort of like almost complimentary, because Seattle's typically just pretty consistent. You know what to expect. They're going to be in the mix. Doesn't have like the same storyline allure for like the 10th year running as like teams that are like newer and shinier. But when you're playing on Sunday Night Soccer, presented by Continental Tire, you can't ignore. You get the breakdown. Yeah, solid but not easy to pimp out. All right, on that, I'm going to call it a night here. I went 210. I went 210 for you guys. It's a good shift. Thank you all, as always, for coming and hanging out on Under the Lights. We've really it's funny, like we have like our usual crews that show up for kind of both kickoff and Under the Lights. But they are kind of distinct crowds in some ways as well. And I feel like our Under the Lights crew is a sick crew. Love hanging out with you guys on these Thursday evenings. Great stuff from Caleb Denorme of Massive Report. Go to us, Massive Report. Subs and follows on all platforms. If you have not done so yet, I don't know what the like count on this video is. It's not high enough. Pump it up to at least 50, but ideally closer to 100. But it's got to be at least 50. Like the video. If you're new here, maybe, perhaps, and you haven't subbed to the channel, please sub to the channel and toss us a follow on Instagram and TikTok. After show, potentially Sunday. Actually, I think yeah. Actually, I should be able to do one on Sunday because I will not be. I work the games on Saturday, so I don't have that going on. I'm going to go to the game, but mostly just to hang out and watch the Seattle Sounders play the Columbus Crew. But so I'll let you guys know on Blue Sky what it's looking like exact timing wise, but I see no reason why I shouldn't be able to just jet home after the game and lay down a post game live and take some calls. So keep an eye out for timing on that. And then we'll be back at it like normal next week. We'll have kickoff on Monday with Niko, who's going to have a mic. Got that set up. I know that's exciting. We'll have another pod coming out, and we'll be back here, right here, at 7:30 for Under the Lights. So the show goes on. But all right, I'm gonna take off on that. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Love you guys. Peace.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere, and some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.